I'm good. How are you doing?
Sa-Roc, welcome to the show. It's an honor to have you here tonight. WSJ Radio, St. John's University in Queens, New York.
It's good to be here. Thanks for having me.
Congratulations on the new album.
Thank you. Thank you.
As you probably don't know, I'm someone that really is into the MCs and the real hip hop. So I appreciate what you're doing out here, and we need more voices out there like you.
I appreciate you for saying that. I mean, I feel the same way.
Do you feel as though that you're just an underdog?
Well, I feel like I've definitely had obstacles that I've had to push through, and there are certain opportunities within like mainstream media that aren't afforded to me because of the type of style that I have, the type of content that I have, and but I don't like to put that label on me because that affirms things that I'm unwilling to affirm.
Yeah.
I'm out here trying to win.
Yeah. We need the MCs to win.
Hmm.
We need them to win. I want to get into the album, of course. How long did it take for you to put together?
Man, the whole process, editing and writing and cutting and stuff, that probably took almost 3 years.
That's how you know it's a great project because a lot of people put a hard work. You obviously put blood, sweat, and tears into this album.
Yeah, because it was something that was very personal to me, and if this was going to be a representation of who I was as an MC and who I was as a person and tell a little bit about my story, I needed it to be as well executed as possible. Of course, as artists, we're going to be super critical and like, analyzing things a lot more deeply than other people might analyze them. But I think that's an important part of the process in getting the project you're proud of out in the world.
Mhm. Black Thought. I know that was the only feature that you worked with in the studio. So how was that experience? Because that's a legend. The Roots.
Boy, I know. And okay, so here's the funny thing. Black Thought is the homie. Like, I have performed with him before I did the work thing in the studio. I had performed with him quite a few times with the Roots. Done shows that he's recommended me for, and then done stuff with him. But there's a difference between like coming locked and loaded with the rhyme and knowing like, okay, yeah, this is I'm in my comfort zone. I know this joint. I get up on the mic and do my thing. Then it's a difference between that and getting in the studio and having to write with someone who is such an epic lyricist like Tariq, Black Thought.
Yeah.
And so and plus I don't normally do that. Like that's not my thing. I write by myself in private with no one watching, so that was the added like kind of nervousness. And so it was very nerve wracking. I have to be honest, it was very nerve wracking. I was like, oh my gosh. Because, if you're doing something with someone like of his caliber, you want to make sure that your bars are going to be worthy to stand next to his. Now, I know I'm a dope MC,
Yeah.
but when you think about someone who you admire, like he is like definitely my top. I just want to make sure, like, he's like my mentor in my mind. So I'm like, let me make sure I'm doing my mentor proud with these bars. And I ended up I had like some weird quirky moments in which I had to leave the studio, couldn't write in front of him and everything. But we got it done, and we were able to like bounce the rhymes off of one another when we started writing the back and forth, like the I think we did what was it 4 bars or 8 bars or something like
Yeah.
that, back and forth. So that's when I kind of started loosening up and being okay. So this gonna be the jumping off point, and I got to like lead off from where he ended. So that was really cool.
Mhm.
But I came out of it just feeling really renewed and feeling validated that like my skill level was where it needed to be, and it was also inspired me to like get better so I can continue to
Yeah.
put out them bars.
What does he love most about your craft as being an MC? Because he's someone that you definitely want to have the best opinion of, and you want to sound the best when going up against him as well on the track. What has he said? Because there's not too many female MCs in the game. I want to get into a tweet that you mentioned a few days ago, taking the BET Cypher. I want to get into that in a little bit. But as far as Black Thought, what has he said about your craft that he likes most about you?
Some of the things that he said were in that, rhyme. He said that he reminds me I'm like the female version of him. Like we go really deep when it comes to writing, and I think both of us think of writing, of hip hop in particular, we're not just stuck in within this genre. We admire so many other brilliant writers within the literary canon, like, you know, James Baldwin and Langston Hughes and Zora Neale Hurston and things like that. So like we really take the lyricism and the words and the wordplay quite seriously, and then we dig deeper in terms of like incorporating aspects of history, incorporating aspects of metaphysics and stuff within our rhymes. So like that's something that he said, like you know your bar level is, you aspire higher, you know. So
you're going to be ready for the BET Cypher. When is the BET Cypher exactly? I know you mentioned Lyric Jones and Shay Noir are going to be basically breaking the mics up there, bending the mics.
Shay Noir, yeah, Lyric Jones and Shay Noir are some super dope, very talented MCs. Lyric, actually, I've known her for years. Like, we both were doing, when the independent scene in Atlanta was popping, the independent hip hop scene was popping. Like, she was coming up, she was in college, and she was coming up from college an hour away to perform in Atlanta, like throwing her own shows and stuff. And she just dropped an album that was produced by Fonte, which is incredible. And Shay dropped hers. And, you know, there's just some really dope MCs. And of course, Rhapsody won Lyricist of the Year. There's some dope MCs that just happen to be women, yep, that have been grinding, but are now starting to get their just due, are now starting to get recognition. And I think it's a beautiful thing. And I think the more we push down those barriers, like Rhapsody winning that award with an album so conceptualized and so well thought out and so political and beautifully well crafted, that just like raises the bar for artists to start just taking their time with the music and creating like really intentional music. And I think that like Lyric and like Che and like myself and like other rappers like Dynasty and Il Camille, like we're ready, we're primed for that because we've been making music like that. So next year, yeah, it's definitely going to be our time to get in that cypher.
I think you could body the men.
Yeah, of course. That's what I'm saying. Like, we are dope MCs. I'm a dope MC, and I just happen to be a woman. We're so marginalized within the culture of hip hop. It's like we're only compared. They only will compare us to other women MCs, which is fine. If they're dope, they're dope. Yeah, compare me with other female MCs. But like, you're positioning me to remain in a certain subset of hip hop and not even basically weighing my talent with, you know, these other men, which I could body so many men who are out here now. Like, of course, like
probably everyone on the top 100 charts on iTunes and Apple Music.
I'm saying, if you didn't say it, I was gonna say it. But like, I think that's the thing. Like, we've so excluded women from the conversation. Now we have to say, oh yeah, she's the top. You're my top. People say you're my top something female MC, and I'm like, why you don't ever say this is my top male MC? Like, no one ever says that.
Yeah,
because they maintain the dominant, you know, position and dominant voice within hip hop. You know, we are the margins, and they are in you know, the main conversation. So. Mm-hmm.
That brings me to the next question. When we bring up top 5 lists, top 10 lists, how come we never put females in that category? We can never bring up the Foxy Browns, the Lauryn Hills. Why is that, you think?
I mean, just what I spoke to before. I mean, hip hop is no different than the larger environment that we live in. You know, we live in this society that's male dominated. And, you know, we have seen within every sphere, in every creative sphere, industry, all of that, like it's male dominated, and women often get overlooked, silenced, pushed to the sidelines, and we have to fight twice as hard for a voice and a position. So yeah, I mean, I think that it's just a reflection of the larger macrocosm in which we exist. So honestly, you know, but there's so many, and I think that people are excited now to start like uncovering and discovering more women MCs, because they're seeing the inequity. They're seeing that, dang, like we're not seeing, I know, like, people will be like, I go to all, female shows, like I go all to shows where there's, 5, 6, 7 dope MCs on the roster and they all happen to be women. How come we're not talking about them? How come, they're not trending on Instagram? And if they are trending, it's the mainstream women in hip hop. It's not all of these, but we hear people will post and promote, like, and find out the woodworks, these, men MCs who are underground or who are independent. And that's dope too. If you dope, you dope. Everybody deserves that shine and needs to be pushed to the forefront, but we definitely need to start listening for, watching for, making space for women in hip hop.
What does it mean to you when you see your fans and people over social media, as well as the reviews on Apple Music and other music platforms, calling you the Goddess MC?
I mean, it's dope. I mean, that's something actually I coined for myself quite early on in the game. Just because when we think of goddess, when we think of, they say God of bars, God MC, whatever, the upper echelon, the top of my craft, like no one better. And, I feel the same way about myself. I feel that, in many ways, my writing is unmatched. I feel that I pattern myself after people who I consider to be, the top of their craft. But more deeper than that, like, I think that I wanted to make it known when I first came on the scene that there would be certain expectations and standards for how it would be treated. And you weren't going to play me. You weren't going to sideline me. You weren't going to disrespect me. And me calling myself the Goddess MC was like, that was just the stamp. Like, that's how you knew there were going to be no games,
Would you ever consider making an album with 3 people, and it's going to be the female version of Griselda? If it were to ever happen, you, Lyric, and Shay, would you ever do that?
I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
I'd be down to do that. The production would have to be crazy. You got to call Soul Messiah for that. But yeah, I've worked with Lyric before. I love Che, so yeah, I would definitely be down for that.
Mm-hmm. I think that would be fire. I would definitely put females more on the map in the game too. You guys are really making a voice for yourself, especially with Rhapsody winning Lyricist of the Year.
Yeah,
that's huge.
Yeah, it's really huge, and I was so happy for her because that album is just really incredible. And I went on tour with her earlier this year. And the thing about rap is that not only is she just a brilliant writer, lyricist, she's like been working for so long. I've seen her like in her early days when she was with a group out of North Carolina. Like, I've seen them come up to Atlanta and perform and stuff. Like, so I've seen her progression. And she's been dope from the beginning. But from me hearing her on a mixtape like years ago to seeing where she is now, like, she has so much value for hip hop and what she creates, and seeing her perform. So all of that combined with the fact that she's just a good person. She's just a good, genuine, kind person. And to see someone like that win this and finally get some kind of validation, even though she doesn't need it, it's just really, it's really heartwarming. So I'm super happy. And then, it's going to start opening doors. It's going to, I think, dismantling some of this, kind of these stereotypical expectations or standards or ideals for what a woman MC looks like or what she talks about. And having Chica in the Cypher as well. Like, she also kind of kicks down that, this idea or this kind of prototype of what a woman MC is supposed to be. And more of that is going to help broaden the conversation, broaden the lane. So there's not just one person, one voice, one queen on the throne. There's room for all of us.
Yeah. How do you feel about how female rappers are basically depicted in the game right now? What I'm going to get into now is you take your craft seriously as well as Rhapsody. when people think of a female rapper, they think of Cardi B, and I want to throw up. But I mean, I want to see a female MC that has pure talent on the top charts. When we think of female MCs, we just think of you and Rhapsody. I feel as though that we have to look at someone like Cardi B as basically the representation of all female rappers.
I don't feel anything about her being about her popularity. I mean, she has her lane, and there's always been a lane for everybody in hip hop. Like, there has always been an Uncle Luke. There's always been, you know what I'm saying? Like they've been creating music along with the KRS Ones and the Tribe Called Quest and stuff. And so my thing is just the sole concentration on a particular style of music or a particular lane of music or a particular representation. We're so varied and so just there's so many different voices and stories and styles and flows, and like just there's so much of that. And we're allowed to see that when it comes to male rappers. We're allowed to see the quote unquote mumble rap. We're allowed to see the trap rap. We're allowed to see the conscious MCs. We're allowed to see all of that. But why are we allowed to see that when it comes to women? And it goes back to that whole marginalization. It ends up being a form of tokenism where, you are allowed to be a part of this, to partake in this genre, in this culture, as long as you fit a particular mold. And I think, like I said, like with Rhapsody winning this award, with people like Chica, getting recognition, amassing 1 million followers on Instagram, and having her own flow, her own look, her own style, and that is starting to change that perception. Like, I'm not worried about what another woman MC is doing or however many accolades that she gets. I'm worried about myself. I'm worried about other women who work super hard and are super talented. I'm worried about them getting their just due and their recognition as well.
Yeah, that's the main thing. There's got to be balance.
Yes.
There's got to be balance. And that's why you're on my show and she isn't, Cardi B. I mean, I need the MCs to get that spotlight. Because people are always like, well, you need the balance. Back in the 90s, you had the MCs in the spotlight.
Right.
We need that back again.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that, there's been a shift on both sides too. I mean, we get a lot of very kind of vapid, superficial music that's plays on the radio, male and female.
Yeah, both. They're terrible. Yeah, you'll turn on the radio and it's a bunch of garbage. That's why it's such a shame where radio stations have turned into this money making machine, because it's all the labels, or labels are paying them to play the garbage, and it should be quality over quantity, because the quantity comes when all these rappers are constantly dropping stuff every Friday and it all sounds the same. No, there's no individuality anymore.
Right, because the new thing is I could write a rhyme in 3 minutes. I'm like, you're proud of that? Like, that just tells me, like, you put no thought in that, and you follow this, like, formula, and that's just how you write. Like, for me, like, the artists and the MCs that I admire and, like, what I do, I really want every rhyme to sound different. I want the flow to shift and adapt with the beat. I want the cadence to shift and adapt with the beat. Like, I don't want everything to every song is like that. Like, come on, give me.
And the themes are all the same. It's all about money and everything. There's no story, and that's what I like about the album and the music that you make with the Sharecropper's Daughter. It's a story that you're telling, just stories, and you talk about Babylon. What made you want to be an MC that talked about those subjects?
My music it carries over from who I am and my interests and what I read and what I'm into. So there wasn't really a conscious decision to talk about certain things. It's just like the things that I hold dear, and so it's just a natural extension that it would just kind of bleed into what I wrote about,
And it's educational.
Yeah. So, some people say edutainment.
Yeah, that's the main thing, is that you're teaching your listeners, and I think that's what people want to hear. I don't want to hear about this one with the cars and the money. I don't want to hear about that all the time.
And exactly, you hit it right on the head all the time. Like, sometimes that glitzy, glam, fun rap, it's fun. Like, it's dope. Like, I like a lot of songs like that. But I just don't want to exclusively hear about that because I'm like, I'm a thinker. Like, there's so much stuff going on out here in the world, and like so much that there is to explore and just study and like talk about. Like, I to me, that's stunting to just like be focused on so shallow, such shallow concepts and continuously. Like, yeah, we all,
Yeah.
I binge out and watch Netflix with the rest of them. I want a Tesla and all that kind of stuff. And I could talk about that in the way that I do, but like, there's so much more. Like, give me more.
Yeah. You wouldn't be Sa-Roc if you didn't.
Right.
I want to hear about your story. What was it like growing up in Southeast Washington, D.C.?
Um, it was beautiful. It was crazy. It was challenging. Um, it was an interesting dynamic because I grew up. Southeast is a part of DC that is. Um, it was heavily affected by like the crack era at the time. Certain parts of Southeast were um, kind of riddled with violence and just a lot of that. Like, so it was challenging. I was sheltered because I grew up in a home where my parents were, all the stuff that you hear in my music. Like, my parents we were studying like Eastern spirituality and different philosophies, and we were learning how to meditate and learning about our history and culture. And I'm listening to everything from Jimi Hendrix to Billie Holiday to, you know, Bob Marley. So like I go outside and I'm seeing like empty crack bags, and every other parent on my block is addicted to crack. But then I go inside and then I have like this shelter, and then I go to I went to private school. That
Oh,
was
you went to private school? It
Yeah.
sucks, right?
uh, no, I liked it. I mean,
I went there. I hated it.
at first I didn't. I wanted to go to the popular like high schools.
Mhm.
I actually wanted to go to Duke Ellington, which is a creative arts school that Dave Chappelle went to.
Mhm.
Um, but my parents were like, "Nah, you're gonna go to this school." It had a strong like cultural foundation, so it was. I was glad like 2-3 years in, like, okay, this was grounding for me. I needed something that was really small and where I felt cared about. And I actually found like a lot of my early mentors, teachers who like ushered me along this creative path. So I think it was serendipitous that I ended up going to that school in more ways than one.
Mhm. And you went to Howard. What were some of the most important things that you learned during your time in Howard?
It's funny. I was just talking about that. I mean, it was important to be in a school where my identity was nurtured and supported, and I had professors who cared about like where I came from and where I was going, and you know to know that some of the most esteemed um, influences and artists and writers went there, in buildings named after the founders of the father of the Harlem Renaissance.
Yeah.
And that meant something to me. um, and it was really important for me to experience that. um, yeah, so yeah, Howard, going to Howard was an incredible experience. HBCUs are just so valuable, and I was glad I had an opportunity, even though I resisted that as well. I didn't want to go to school in DC. I was like, I'm trying to be in New York, I'm trying to be in California. I don't want to stay in no DC. But again, in hindsight, looking back, I'm like, I'm so glad I had that experience.
Going back to before, just listening from artists to Billie Holiday and Bob Marley, I also read that you were influenced and inspired by Nirvana as well.
Yeah, I was a whole little grunge girl. Emo, angsty grunge girl. I used to get all my clothes from the thrift store and wear like oversized pants and skater shoes and black lipstick and all that stuff. I was a huge Nirvana fan. He like Smashing Pumpkins and Pearl Jam and all that stuff. Bjork, the Cranberries, all of that. So that was interesting, like, because I was always into things that my peers weren't into. But I think that all of these influences kind of readied me for just doing something different and taking a different lane when it came to music. Mm-hmm. Because I always felt kind of like an outsider anyway, like growing up, because like I never quite fit in with what other people were doing. So it makes sense that when I started doing music on my own, that I wouldn't be doing what other people were doing.
Yeah, and that's what makes you different and unique.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, how does grunge played into making your own music? Because grunge is an interesting era. It's almost, they share a similar, almost pain as hip hop artists. They're expressing pain in some sort in their own way.
Exactly, and that's the key thing, because like someone else has asked me that before. They're like, I don't really hear the influences, and I'm like, it's not literal, but like the level of emotion, like that was what connected me to that kind of music. You know, the level of just kind of vulnerability in that, just letting all of that angst out onto the record. That's kind of what I learned to do as a hip hop artist. Like once I got past my own, you know, personal boundaries or whatever, and started digging a little deeper into like what I experienced and what I was feeling, and wanted to express that, you know, in my bars. I really started just kind of releasing all of that and dealing with like the emotions on the page. And that's when people really started connecting, because there was a shared, even if the story wasn't exactly the same, the background wasn't exactly the same, they connected to that raw human emotion. And that's where that grunge kind of gets reflected through the hip hop that I do now.
This is an interesting time to look back on the grunge era, because it was short. It was a short time, but it's historical.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was a pain in the
Are you doing any virtual performances due to COVID-19 and everything going on in the world? Are you doing any virtual performances?
I am. I don't have a date as yet, but we're looking to do something in November, to do like a live, because we have to do something. The album's out, you know, and I've been itching to perform. Like that was, you know, it is still my driving force. I love to get up on stage, and I love, even though I can't connect in the same way, and you know, just being able to put my whole entire body into just articulating the words and the music that I've made is really important to me. So yeah, so we're gonna do that in November. Mm-hmm. And I've done a couple of things before that, little small things with you know, fundraisers or like different online concerts. But I can't wait to do it. Yeah, man.
Yeah, I hope things get better, especially with COVID-19. Hopefully, there's a cure, vaccine, whatever. Everyone has to go out and vote on. You have to go out and vote on the 3rd. Get the monster out of office, and exactly. Hopefully things get better.
Exactly, and if you can early vote, please take advantage of that. I was in and out of that thing in 10 minutes.
Yeah, take advantage of that. Mm-hmm. You got to definitely take advantage of that. And any upcoming visuals from the album at all?
We are working on something right now. So
yeah.
Stay tuned.
What's your favorite song off of the album? Mine is Something Real. I like that.
Oh, thank you. I like that one too. I mean, that's like trying to tell me to choose a baby, choose a favorite child. I can't pick a favorite song. All of them.
It gives me vibes of Lauryn Hill and MC Smooth, who's very underrated.
Interesting. Okay, I like the Lauryn Hill reference for sure.
Yeah, MC Smooth is very underrated.
Okay. I'm gonna have to check out the work. Sure.
Yeah, she's very underrated. For people that may not know, why did you choose the Sharecropper's Daughter as the title of this album?
Because I'm literally a sharecropper's daughter. My father grew up on a sharecropper farm in Virginia, and you know, saw his family work the farm, you know, and experience some of the extreme hardships of the Jim Crow era. And he has, you know, provided the foundation for me in becoming who I am. And so I just wanted to tell this story of becoming, you know, to talk about how the layers of who we are come with so much weight, you know, so much emotion, so much trauma, pain, love, resilience. And it's digging through those things and facing those things that allow us to find the treasure within ourselves, the light within ourselves, the beauty within ourselves. And we can only do that once we face those things. So digging into that was really important to me. So I needed for the title to just encapsulate me going back to my history and my foundation.
I think it does, and I think it's, to me, it's the best album from a female hip hop artist, female MC this year.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, for male, I gave it to MC8 and Dave East had with Karma 3. I really enjoyed that.
Okay, I'm gonna
Yeah.
check those albums out. I didn't know MCA dropped some this year.
Yeah, he dropped Lessons. I had him on my show a few weeks ago. We talked about it. Yeah, that was pretty fire.
Oh, okay. Turn me on. I gotta turn on my Spotify and see what's up.
What was it like working with Styles P for this album?
We actually did that remotely.
Yeah.
I was happy to do it with him because I felt like he was the perfect person to kind of tell that story, you know, because Rockwell's America is my interpretation of what being Black in America was for me, that experience for me. Kind of pulled back this Rockwell's portrayals of this idyllic America and shared, you know, parts of my story which were not idyllic at all. And you know, Ghost is like that. You know, he talks about the streets like, you know, unlike many can. And so I knew like his kind of gritty, I mean, his voice and, you know, his perspective would be great to lend itself to that song. But I actually linked with him because, you know, he's a plant-based eater. He owns the juice bars and stuff. And we actually are both a part of this organization called HipHop is Green that goes to schools and like impoverished communities and underserved communities and talks about the value and benefits of plant-based eating. So we connected on that through that. And I was like, hey, you'd be perfect for this song.
You've worked with a lot of legendary MCs. Who's your number one that you want to work with? I'll tell you mine after you mention yours.
Man. Honestly, it would be legendary to do something with Lauren.
Lauryn Hill.
Man, I mean, to have that go down, to be able to craft something with her, you know, I think she's so brilliant, and I think that she still has so much story to tell. And if I could create something with her, that would just be amazing. But 3000 too.
Andre 3000.
Man, I love Outkast. I love Three Stacks. Like that would be legendary too. You see, I'm trying to pull all these people out of you know, quote, retirement of recording retirement.
They need to come back and help the game out.
Yeah, we need you.
Come back, get the garbage out of here. I'm gonna reveal mine. I'd love to see you work with his Nas.
Okay, yeah, I would love that. I love the new album for sure.
Yeah, King's Disease was a great album. That's also in my top albums for hip hop this year. I'd love to see you on a song with Nas.
Yeah, that would be incredible.
Yeah, he still got it.
None of this is impossible. None of this.
Yeah, no, it's not.
We're affirming this stuff right now.
Yeah. It's going to happen. I think it'll happen for you. Is there anything else that you would love to let my audience know here tonight?
You know, just check out the album, check out my work. Like, I have tons of stuff on YouTube, which we're broadcasting on now.
Yeah.
And, all the streaming sites and stuff. Like, just dig a little deeper to just kind of get an idea of who I am and what my voice is. But definitely check out the album. I think it's something that is missing from the game. It's really heartfelt and it's barred up. And just dig. If you're looking for other women MCs, they're out there. Like, they're out there.
They're out there.
You don't even have to take a deep dive. Like, just Google it. Dynasty is a dope ill MC. There's so many that I can just rattle off. Take the time to find these women and give them the support and give them the push that they wouldn't otherwise get from an industry that often overlooks them. Like, show some love to these real MCs.
Thank you. Because if I was in charge, it would be you and Rap City, Cardi B, and the others on the bottom.
We not throwing shade on this show tonight.
I throw shade all the time.
There's space for all of us. There's space for all of us. But we're just trying to amplify those voices that are full of heart and substance and, really are trying to elevate the craft.
Yeah. Real hip hop and MCs come first. That's it.
Yeah.
Who was the person that shot your album cover? I want to give them the shout out, and then you can tell them your socials where they can follow you.
Yes, that was Kaylin Gilstrap. Dope photographer out of Colorado. Actually linked up with her through a coworker of mine when I was working in 9 to 5, who is now her husband, which is a beautiful thing. And we went out to this beautiful farm out in Georgia, like far, far out in Georgia, where there were actual working barns and an old 25-year-old donkey. And it was just really dope. I think it really captured the essence of what the album what is and was and that history. So yeah, big ups to Kaylin. And as far as my socials, I am Sa-Roc The Emcee, SAROCTHEMC on Instagram and Twitter, right? Yeah, and Twitter, and SA-ROC on Facebook.
There you have it. Make sure you go follow her. Check out the album, Sharecroppers Daughter, available on all platforms. I want to thank you for what you're doing for the game, what you're doing for hip hop, and putting it back to where it should be, because that's what we need right now.
That's right. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you for coming on the show. I want you to take care and stay safe. You're always welcome to be on the show anytime you have anything else to drop. St. John's University and WSGA Radio would appreciate it. We appreciate you being here tonight as well.
I appreciate y'all. I appreciate the conversation. Thank you.
No doubt. Take care and stay safe, all right?
You too.
Yeah, thank you.
Peace.
Peace.